Okay, Facebook Live. Happy Tuesday, everybody. It is July 26, 2022, day 169 of year 4 of reading through the books of the law and the prophets, another 4-year consecutive day count, day 1187. Remember, that's the count of us being here every single day, except for the Sabbath days. And of course, them few days I had to take for a personal sabbatical to pull my body under control when the vid was trying to, I ain't gonna say trying to, the vid got me. That was not a fun time for me. Like I really thought that was the end of me. And what's crazy, I had been plant-based, but let me tell you how it got me. Because I was doing a lot of foolishness with chocolate. I was consuming more chocolate than what I should have been. Like, I should have been using good common sense during that time. And it was September 2021. I think it was September 2021. Yeah, but it helped me break my addiction to chocolate. I'm just like, Father, I'm sorry. This should not have gotten me. Yeah, I had weekend. When I say I was going in with the chocolate, I was going in with the chocolate. The Reese, it was mostly the Reese's, like the mini Reese's, the Reese's Pieces, the Reese Cups. Every time I saw a Reese's, it came with me. Like it was too much. I was like, you know what? This has become a problem. And I didn't realize I didn't realize it had become a problem until I had got sick. Don't ever let it get that far, people. Don't ever let it get that far. Food should not control you, right? That's my truth. But blessed be the most holy, I didn't die. Yo, that was not, when I say not a fun time. Not a fun time. Okay, y'all. We I don't want to book a leaker. We'll probably be here maybe another whole week. Maybe. Not a full week. I think we're going to be done before the week is over with. By the end of next week, we're going to be done with the book of Wars against Jehovah. But anyway, Elijah 7, Grand Rising. Audrey, shalom, shalom. All right, y'all. Facebook, top there, beautiful people. Okay. All right, y'all. Father, we thank you for another day to learn truth and apply it to our life. All right, y'all. Chapter 31 on page 351 in the Oahspe, Book of Wars against Jehovah. In course of time, Anusahaj called the meeting of his gods in Horeb, and Osiris and Suga came, and great were the pageantry and show that day, and the pomp and splendor, and the pomp and glory and splendor of Sanctu, with thousands of millions of trained slaves, with their dashing officers of high rank. For at this time it was nearly 700 years since even generals and high captains could come into the presence of the Lord God the false, save by crawling on their bellies, even for miles, like they had, because they probably was real dirty by the time they got to him. They had to have known that something was wrong with that. Verse 2, and in and around about the heavenly house of the capital were erected 50,000 pillars of fire, kept forever going by the labor of his slaves, some of whom stood in their tracks, laboring at one thing for more than 100 years, without change of watch or rest, being threatened with hell. Dang. I'm glad. I ain't gonna say I'm glad, but you kept it up for 1,000 years. It's a good thing, spirits, when you cross over, you ain't gotta go to the bathroom. Let me read verse 2 over. And in and around about the heavenly house of the capital were erected 50,000 pillars of fire, kept forever going by the labor of his slaves, some of whom stood in their tracks, laboring at one thing for more than 100 years, without change of watch or rest, being threatened with hell and being too impotent to believe otherwise. None could walk upright to the throne of the Lord God, save his high council, his high marshals, and his gods in Anubi, and none else were permitted to look upon him under the penalty of being cast into hell. At first, his gods came to feast with him once a year for more than 100 years. After that, for a while, once in 6 years, and afterward, only once in 50 or 100 years, and then only by special command. So it came to pass that the coming of deists, false gods, was an occasion of rejoicing and glory to upward of 12,000 million inhabitants of the kingdom of Oahspe. For far and near, they were extra clothed and fed and granted freedom for the time being. On the last occasion referred to, the gods received by hundreds of millions, called the receiving host, and fire ships of great size and brilliancy, and thus conducted up to the roadways of the court, nearer than which the receiving host dared not to approach. There the gods were met by Deus's high council and high marshals, and with them entered the area and walked up to the high ark of the capitol, which led into the place of the throne of the Lord God. When inside the ark, the council and marshals parted on either side, and with the head bowed, chanted an anthem of praise to Deus. The gods also bowed with respect and friendship, and walked in the midst most directly toward the throne. When they were near at hand, the vice gods on either side of Deus rose up, saying, "In the name of the Lord God of the heavens of the earth, who come here upright." Hold on, that was a question. "In the name of the Lord God of the heavens of the earth, who comes here upright and as gods?" The gods responded, "Behold, we are the sons of the Lord God, great Deus, and of a truth we are gods. We demand audience with our Godhead for the glory of our kingdoms and his." Deus said, "Peace, my vice gods. I do recognize these, my brother gods. Greeting in the name of heaven and earth." The gods responded, "Greeting unto thee, O Lord God, mightiest of gods. In thy mighty name, Deus, we salute thee worshipfully, to know thy will and pleasure, that we may serve thee in wisdom and power and love." Deus said, "Welcome, O ye gods. The freedom of sanctity is at your hands. Behold, I will clear my place, that we may privily and most holily consult together for the good of angels and mortals. And after I will clear up my place, after place is reference number 12, and down at the bottom 12 says palace. So I will clear my pace, or before it had, I will clear my palace. Verse 12, page 351. Thereupon Deus gave a signal for all his officers and attendants to retire beyond the ark, the which they did. And now that the ceremony of reception was over, Oahspe came down from his throne and greeted the gods cordially by clasping hands, after which they all sat down at the foot seats of the throne, and there were present Deus and Osiris and Sudga, no others within hearing. I'm sorry, let me go back. Let me read the whole sentence over. And now that the ceremony of reception was over, Oahspe came down from his throne and greeted the gods cordially by clasping hands, after which they all sat down on the foot seats of the throne, and there were present Deus and Osiris and Sudga, and no others within hearing, for 10 had not come. And for a while they talked together like long separated friends, and lo and behold, the Satan that was within each of them began to fail him as regarded reproving the others. So remember before, yesterday, I think day before yesterday was the first time where we read in here when it says Satan in brackets, it has the self, right? So I was thinking about that a little bit yesterday while I was rewatching the video when it came across it. And you know how clearly I know that we're considered like we have a spirit and we have flesh, right? Okay. So Satan, or it also mentioned, I think it said, when it was talking about Eve, it said the serpent as well, right? Satan, the serpent, the flesh, they were being used interchangeably, right? So you know how you have to really, a lot of times, if you're trying to align yourself with the Father and you're really trying to allow your spirit to lead, it really, really seems, at least in I ain't trying to say I got split personalities or nothing like that, but sometimes we really do, I'm going to just say me, I really do have a time with bringing my flesh in line with what my spirit want to do. And this is one of the things, although Paul and his shenanigans, I don't really get with a lot of them. There was something that he said, those things that I want to do, I do not. And those things that I don't want to do, I tend to find myself doing. Not a lot of stuff, but some things. It's like, just like trying to fast, right? Great example. Like, because I'm so busy most of my waking life, sometimes, like, I can work without even thinking about food, right? But at the moment I say I'm a fast, it's like my body immediately goes into rebellion. And there's like a nonstop hunger and cravings for food that wasn't there. Like, I completely didn't eat anything all day yesterday and didn't even think about food today until I thought about, you know what? I should just turn this into a fast. Then all of a sudden, I just get hungry. And now I got to fight with my body or with my mind and my gut to bring it like back into line. And it's like your flesh really wants to rebel against your spirit, right? So it's that's what I was thinking about when I read over that part when it was talking about Eve, and it was saying that Satan was talking to her, or the self was talking to her, or the flesh was talking to the spirit. Is how I understand it. And I'm just like, man, it's like you're really, not that you are, but hear what I'm trying to say. For lack of better words, it's like you're dealing with two sides of yourself, trying to get your flesh under control by your spirit, so that for one, it's like the flesh is dumb. It want to do what it want to do and just relax and be comfortable and eat what it want to eat and just, you follow me. And it's like, no, you need to follow me, because if I follow you, we both gonna die. But if you follow me, I can help regenerate your body and help give you life, right? It's like there is this constant war going on in the side, I ain't gonna say y'all, but I say me, all the time, right? And at the time, especially when I'm trying to really, like, let me tell y'all, I'm gonna be honest with y'all. I have, like, was it last year? Year before last, that was the first time I had successfully gotten through a 40-day fast, a 40-day water fast at that, right? Now, some people, when they do it, here's the key. You need to make sure you're drinking water that is, I say structured water, right? You can drink juice, which is H3O2 or whatever, and that's good. But if you're drinking water, don't drink like regular spring water. Although there's a channel that I recommended a lot, Lauren Lockman, and he says just drink like regular spring water, fresh water, whatever. But what I found out, even while doing that, and it didn't click to a few days ago on why I was able to last so long, to whereas when I tried it before, I didn't realize I wasn't using the same type of water. I was using, when I made it through the first 40-day water fast successfully, I was using the alkaline 88 water, right? Which is full of, and I wasn't even thinking, I was just like, oh, I like this water. It's nice and refreshing, not realizing that it had electrolytes and everything in it, which is why I was able to go so long. Once I got through them 3 days, once the ghrelin system in my body cut off to where I was no longer looking and craving for food through my mouth, and it went within to find its nutrients, I didn't realize the water that I was drinking was structured, and everything that food would have given me, that water actually gave me, which is why I got through it in a breeze. Like, this really didn't click to the other day. And it's like, why is this so hard? I was like, I had no issues a couple years ago getting through the 40-day water fast and just making it 3 days. It seems like it's the worst thing in the world. And I'm just like, dude, what did I do? And I literally had to go back through my notes and the things that I did. I was like, what was I doing? Clearly I was doing something different then that I'm missing here. And it was the type of water I was drinking. It was structured. It had the electrolytes. So when your body gets like the things that it needs, like the electrolytes and the amino acids and stuff like that, you can literally, because that's what, when you're putting food into your mouth, that's what it breaks things down to give your body the nutrients. Yeah, you put it in your mouth in a tasty form like that, but really that's what is deriving from the food that you put in your body. And if we were able to do that consistently, the world would not be overweight. Me, number one, right? So I'm really, really thick. I was just thinking about this. I'm like, Father, I should not be having this much trouble with my flesh and pushing away my plate. I was like, what is wrong? I was like, I'm clearly doing something wrong because I don't even be hungry. It's like, and I realized how I be psyching my own self out. I'm like, this is crazy. So I really had to really sit down and go through everything. And I got into that because right here in verse 13, it says on page 351, and for a while they talked together like long separated friends. And lo and behold, the Satan that was within each of them began to fail him as regardeth reproving the others. So you have to really be careful. A lot of time when we're thinking Satan is an outside force, it's really our flesh. It is really us, right? It's crazy. Hold on. You lost your place. Hold on. Key. Shalom. We're on page 351, verse 13. Okay, y'all. Yeah, so be mindful of that. Like, you really, like when you're growing on purpose, at least in my case, I realized I have to really track everything I'm doing. I just got into a habit of that because if I mess up somewhere or if I'm really having a hard time somewhere and struggling, I'm not really able to pinpoint, or it's just like I'm waiting for the Father, like, hey, help me out here. And it's like, pay attention to what you're doing. What you mean pay attention to what I'm doing? I need help. I can't say, oh, keep looking. You'll get it. Right? So that's when I realized, because I was getting frustrated. I'm like, you telling me everything else, but what I'm asking you, you keep telling me to go back. So that's what's gotten me in the habit of tracking everything, because when I track everything, I'm able to go back and look and see patterns that I may not have caught during the time I was actually writing stuff down, right? Okay, so let me do this. So be mindful. A lot of times, and it really could be too. Like it's a couple of different things. Just like you have people who are named something, you also have cities that they name after them. So sometimes when you're saying Israel, depending on who you're talking to, when you say Israel, they'll immediately think about the land. Or when you say Israel, they'll immediately think about a people, or vice versa, right? Same thing here. When you say Satan, depending on who you're talking to, how they were raised, they'll immediately think somebody outside of the body. Those who are a little bit more learned, like, oh, you're having trouble with your flesh, not an outside character that you're blaming everything else on, right? So it's those type of things. But sometimes you can say Satan. It could be a force outside of you, like false gods or something speaking to you. That happens too. But in this case, I'm talking specifically about our flesh being labeled as Satan, like an enemy, adversary, right, against the spirit, keeping it from growing, right? That's like the first thing you got to learn how to control. Before you can control anybody else and have children, you should be able to control this one first, right? It's the same thing on different levels, different opportunities to grow and learn how to, what can I say? Act like children of the light, right? Put the principles of the kingdom of light into practice, but first starting with ourselves. Because if you can control your own self, you probably really not going to have a time you know, getting your children under control. You may have some problems, especially when it's more than one, right? You got to learn how, you got to look at different things, the personalities. Now you got to pay attention to things other than yourself, right? I think it's good training. Yes, thank you, Vinay. I figured that out a few fasts ago. You can add lemon and lime juice and distilled water to make it alkaline. Yeah. Okay, y'all. Yeah, lime juice. I would recommend using fresh limes. Yes, there's definitely water like that. Water like what? Yeah, if it's like distilled or spring water, you can add it to that, or you can buy water that's already structured, like the alkaline 88. And there's a lot of different versions. I prefer the alkaline 88, or what I found out in my fasting, which is what I'm about to start doing now, a water that's natural and is structured from the very beginning. Coconut water, yes. Coconut water. Oh,
y'all niggas hate.
No, listen. Okay, then we're gonna get back to reading. Listen, coconut water sometimes, depending on who do it. If you don't drink it straight out the coconut, you got the young coconut and you got the more mature coconut, which is the brown one. You want to get the water from the young green coconut, right? There is all kinds of coconut water out there, and they have like a not a milky taste, but it feels like milk in your mouth, and I just can't. I can't. Go get me one of my coconut waters out of there. I'm gonna show y'all just in case y'all having a problem with coconut water. Is it locked? Okay. Just in case y'all trying to find a good coconut water, if you don't have it in your local store, you're going to have to order it by the case from Amazon. But remember, it's perishable. If it's not perishable, you might be drinking stuff full of chemicals, right? And don't trust it. Here's one with all the different billions of coconut waters I tried in my research and trying to bring this flesh under control. I don't know if it was y'all or my Ashar, be like, Lord, let's throw her a friggin' bone here. Be like, listen, girl, just get some coconut water, right? Listen, this right here, Taja, T-A-J-A. Food, if you have food lines in your local area, and I've also seen them in like Harris Teeter, but I don't know what your local grocery store is, but look this up, T-A-J-A. When I tell you this is the best coconut water, yours is pink. I tried some of the pink. I can't. I know they say that's natural too. It's just at like a different stage, and I almost threw up. I don't know. Maybe it's a mind thing because I didn't realize coconut water could also be pink. Maybe it's just me psyching my own self out. Yes, I'm in the East Coast. I'm in Virginia. But this is the best coconut water. When I tell you this is the best, when my children will go in there and grab it and drink a whole bottle. Because children don't lie. They're really honest. Adults will be like, girl, that tastes good. But then they'll leave out the house with your bottle. They nursing it, you know, taking little sips. As soon as they get out the house, they can't get out your house fast enough before they find the nearest trash can and throw that bottle away, whatever it was. Adults will lie to you. But children will be absolutely honest. And when my grandbabies drink it, and my little older kids and Bella, when they drink it, and Jeremiah, they was like, yo, I have a problem keeping this stocked in a house, so I have to order from Amazon by the case. And it's perishable, and you have to keep it refrigerated. Them ones that you get off the shelf should tell you right there it's a no-no. Don't get coconut water that you can buy off the shelf that has a shelf life of 3 years out. That is not what you want to put in your body. Like, seriously. Okay. You drink the Vita Coco Original Coconut Water. Yeah, that Vita, it's all right, but I can't. Like, I would not spend my money for it. The only one for the Vita that I would spend my money for is the one that has the pineapple in it, right? It's not the straight coconut water, but the pineapple kind of cuts that milky taste. But also lime. Fresh lime will cut that thickness and coconut. It's just, I'm just like, this is too much. You know, I shouldn't, for something natural, I shouldn't have to do all this doctoring up. You know, but I found out this right here. If you're going to do a water fast, try doing a coconut water fast, right? Because that's what I'm doing now. And I find that it's easier to get through the day because coconut water is natural. It's the best form of water. Do you know And it would give you everything you need, the electrolytes and everything naturally without adding. It comes structured from the creator, right? Just like fruit juices and stuff. But this right here, do you know that even in the war times, when they ran out of, you can go look this up. There was a time when they ran out of the stuff. Was it, say, what they put in the IV, like saline? But anyway, whatever they use. And my sister's here. She's a registered nurse, legit registered nurse, been working in the medical field all her life. They used to use, when they ran out of the stuff that they created in the hospital to use for IV during a time of war, you know what they used? They used coconut water, pumped it right into the veins, right? And it helped to revive the body. They don't tell you that. They don't tell you that today. That is crazy. But this is the closest thing to your own stuff that your body make, that the Creator gave us. That if we having problems, it's right there. Go ahead and replenish yourself until your body get back online where it can continue doing it itself. Right? Okay. Let's get back to this reading. Harmless harvest. Yeah. Look, the pink. Then I'm gonna start. I'll see.
No,
this the pink one. I said yesterday, I'm gonna throw that bottle of that nasty stuff away. I ain't threw it away yet, but now that she's, I'm gonna leave it out. Cause y'all might like it. Just my taste, I don't. But this one, this is what you're talking about right here, the pink. It is, yeah, it's perishable as well. It really is. But I don't care for it. I don't know. It's just my personal preference. Like I said, I didn't probably psych myself out of my mind, because when I first saw it pink, I was like, oh my God. I was like, why is that pink? That's probably expired and they done left it out. And I had to go, I was in the store when I saw it, because I was about to go tell management. I'm like, listen, y'all got expired coconut water that is pink. I had to look it up. Then I felt foolish. I'm like, oh snap, they sell it like this. And so I was like, well, I stood there right over there in this section, and I watched like 4 videos on this, and I grabbed like 6 bottles of it. You know, I was like, okay, it's really good reviews. Well, I never even knew there'd be such a thing. Let me just grab a few, because if it's this good, I'm gonna add it to this, my inventory of these. And these, literally, I gotta buy them like every week, because they will go bad. But they never last a week in my house. They really don't, because everybody's drinking them just like it's regular water. All right. Okay, so that's it. Let's go back to this whole Satan thing, verse 13 on page 351. And for a while, they talked together like long separated friends. And lo and behold, the Satan that was within each of them began to fail him, as regardeth reproving the others. For even the smothered seed of love, which the Great Spirit had given them, began to swell up, as if about to burst forth a mighty power. So the time passed on, and none dared approach the subject of his soul and resolution, till the last days, the most schooled in Satan's cause, put an end to their old-time stories and trivial conversation. He said, so much have I loved you both, and am now moved by your august presence, that with all my majesty and power, I am weaker than a young child who will unconcernedly reprove its own father. Or more, I am like an old man that, in the absence of his child, findeth cause to quarrel with it, but on seeing it return, breaketh down utterly, and turn from his previous grieving to an outburst of manifest love. Osiris said, what can move thee to this seriousness, O deist? For even as thou hast spoken, so hast thou uttered the For even as thou hast spoken, so hast thou uttered the sentiment long heavily lain on my heart, but which now, in reverence to thee and thy great kingdoms, causeth me to melt down like snow in a summer's sun. Pray thee, go on. Sudga said, hey babe, as I live. Verse 17. Sudga said, as I live, Ye twain, so far my superiors, as before whom I am nothing, have spoken the very sentiment of my soul. Let me read that again. Sudga said, as I live, ye twain, so far my superiors, as before whom I am nothing, have spoken the very sentiment of my soul. Pray ye twain, go on, for so great is my love unto you, your most extravagant wish shall be answered by me, though I labor 1,000 years to accomplish it. Thereupon Deus sweetly told his tale, even as Satan had taught him. And then he bade Osiris to speak his mind, and also Sudga speak his, which they did, even as Satan had taught them their parts. When they had finished, Deus, much surprised by their pitiful tales, even as the others were at his, thus spake, my gods, how easier it is to find fault with the state of affairs than to find a remedy. I have seen such as find fault with their neighbors or with the kingdoms or ancients, and yet turned in and accomplished the same faults themselves. We all do know that one of the complaints we had against the old deviant laws was their bondage over the lords and their dominions, holding them to the letter. Whereupon, when we confederated, it was to give independence to each and every lord to rule his own heaven and division of the earth in his own way. And this was granted unto all my lords, and unto me and my kingdom likewise. And behold, where it hath harvested, in the fullness of my soul, I gave you certain doctrines to give unto mortals, chief of which was to make my names worshipful on the earth. But I bound you not, saying, do ye this and no more. But I said unto you, here is the substance of the foundations of my doctrines. Go ye unto mortals and teach them these things, adding or abridging according to your own wisdom. And this ye accomplished, and added thereunto the temptation to mortals to become carnivorous, whereby the grades have fallen woefully. You see what they're talking about? When you become carnivorous, you fall in spirit woefully, right? And you probably, people that argue that with you, they probably would never understand that until they just take the time and test and see what happens not only to their body, but to their spirit and to their understanding when they put flesh away. Even if you just test it, I ain't saying just go, but I am saying go plant-based, right? But I ain't making you do anything, but at least test it. At least give yourself the opportunity to know whether what you believe is the truth or not, or if somebody really or really didn't screw with the scriptures that you hold to heart, right? Thinking that you can eat clean meats. Test it. Because that's what I had to do. I was one of the ones where we can eat clean meats. I'm eating clean meats until I realized I was still having problems happening with my body. About 10 years ago, how old is Josh? Josh 11. Like 11 years ago. And at that time I was eating kosher, eating clean meats, right? Female issues happening, all kinds of stuff. And then I came across this. Somebody mentioned it. I'm like, what? Just get rid of meat? Huh. Right? Because at the point when they said, Miss Murphy, this probably not just gestational diabetes. You probably already had diabetes, right? And I'm just like thinking to myself, yeah, they probably telling the truth, because I've been feeling this tingling in my feet. Things is going numb. I was like, how old am I now? I'm what? I'm 43 minus 10. Drop the 3 down. Take away that. At 33 years old, I should not have been feeling these type of things going on in my body. But when they told me that and they gave me metformin, like, yeah, Miss Murphy, just go ahead and do this. I told y'all this story probably a billion times already. But they gave me the medicine and I took it for a couple days, pricking my finger, taking my blood. I'm like, oh my gosh. I was like, Father, there has to be another way. And I was a Christian at that time. I was like, Father, there has to be another way. But I was like true of heart, still really searching for the truth at that time. I was like, there has to be another way, right? We're going to shake up a little bit in her body because she going to get it. She going to be one of the ones that listen. Just make it just a little bit hard and turn up the heat just a little bit for her. She'll get it. You ain't got to go too high for her. Because I'm of the mindset, I'm going to learn from your mistakes. You got a whipping, what you get a whipping for? Oh, okay, thank you. I'm not going down that road, right? I will listen and I will take the wisdom. You said don't do that. It's a pit right there. I'm going to believe you and I'm going to find another route to go, right? If I don't believe you, I may sit back a little bit and watch somebody. They said it was a pit there. I don't know that I really believe them, but I'm not going to walk. I'm going to just watch and see if anybody else falls into the pit. And if somebody falls into the pit, oh yeah, thank you. And I'm going to go find another route or find a way to cover the pit so I can get across to where I'm going. But I'm going to stop and I'm going to consider everything, right? Look, so at that time, that's when they told me, Miss Murphy, it's probably not just gestational diabetes. Your sugar is so high that you probably already had diabetes. We just caught it right now because we got to do all the testing. And I didn't say anything to them, but I knew what they were saying. Like deep within me, I knew because I knew what I had already been feeling. And this was early on. Like I was still in my first trimester, so I wasn't even showing, right? So I was like, I know what they're saying is probably the truth because these issues I've already been dealing with, trying to figure out why my hands and my feet keep going numb and why my toes keep going numb and these pains, like where my pancreas is at. I'm like, and at that time I was going in on sweet stuff, all kind of starchy foods, potato, white bread, all that stuff. Granted, I put a lot of that stuff away. I'm just I used to call myself a vegan junk food junkie. Like that same type of stuff, although I'm putting away a lot of the sugars, but a lot of the vegan foods, or what they're trying to get away from saying like vegan, use like plant-based, but you still got to be careful because that stuff will pack weight on you faster than meat sometimes because all the processed stuff that they put in there, and it's not 100% truly plant-based, right? Finding stuff out the hard way, not paying attention and tracking stuff. I'm like, good gracious, I thought I got away from this, right? But anyway, but it was at that time where they gave me that medicine and stuff, the metformin, and then when I had to go back 2 weeks later for my next checkup, of course, they checking my blood sugar and everything, and then they said, well, have you noticed the change? Have you been tracking? I said, yeah, I've been tracking. It's been getting higher. Well, what you been eating? Same stuff I've been eating. Okay, we're going to amp up. We're going to rev up this dosage for you a little bit. And I'm like, you just going to up the amount of cc's or whatever that I'm taking. I'm like, what else am I supposed to be doing? Like, help me. Like, how do I control this? Take the medicine. And something just didn't sit right with me about that. I was like, no, I've never been the one to take medicine because of this whole ordeal when I was younger. When I fell off the monkey bars and I had hit my head, that was the cause of me having migraines all my life. I had hit my head really hard. And, but anyway, that's where it came from. But the first time I had to take Motrin, I darn near choked to death. At least I thought I was going to choke to death. I gave y'all that story too. When finally my dad said, Pinky, let's just crush this up and put it in some applesauce, right? But anyway, I had this whole thing about taking pills. So I'm just like, yeah, y'all not giving me more medicine. There has to be another way than just medicine to help me, right? And they would just say, take the medicine, take the medicine. And that there was the starting point of me actually looking into how to heal my body other than medicine, right? That's when I came across Dr. Sabi and plant-based lifestyle. And when I tell you, they called in a prescription for that higher dosage of that metformin. I never went to pick it up because I left out of there really, I was distraught. And I was like, I know there's got to be another way. You know, doctors, they just do their job. They're trained to give you medicine. How they go out and lock themselves out? Hold on 1 second. Remember, when you close it, it's going to automatically lock by itself. So if you're coming right back in, like, it's going to lock within 10 seconds. If you close it, it's going to lock.
See, y'all, this future technology is beyond me. You know, hey, me being myself, I always want to put myself in the camera.
Oh, boy. So that started me on my journey of actually just taking responsibility for my own self and my own actions and stuff, right? So I was like, okay, I got myself, as I began to learn, I'm like, okay, I got myself in this predicament with food. I can get myself out of this predicament by changing the food that I eat. So I kid you not, I was having all kinds of stuff happening with me. I even got, I have a disability rating from the military because of my migraines, right? When I say I had migraines, I was popping Motrin all the time, which could not have been good for my liver. Remember, Motrin that I learned from my sister, Pam, it's an NSAID. It will destroy your liver. I was popping 800 milligrams twice and sometimes 3 times a day, which is dangerous. Don't never do that. But I started feeling sharp pains in my liver. A lot of different things was happening with me. Like literally, I was prepared. If I kept on that lifestyle I was going, I would have probably been in the grave or darn near close to it at this time, right? But I could tell I just knew within myself my body was breaking down, and I was too young for my body. 33 years old. I was too young for my body to be doing stuff like this. But as I researched, I never picked up that second that second prescription she sent in. And as soon as I found out, they said you need to go plant-based, change everything you're eating. And what I did, I went cold turkey because I came across somebody, and I think it was some Hebrew person. I don't remember their page, but the first time I heard like you shouldn't be eating meat or dairy. Matter of fact, it was Dr. Sabian. Once I heard him saying, I started looking into it. That's when I came across a few Hebrew people who had also figured that out, and they were no longer just talking about kosher meats and stuff. They said you got to get rid of it altogether. And that's when I came across that group of Hebrews that moved to Dimona. I think it's Dimona, Israel, and they had been living. They built up this community, and they didn't eat any kind of meat. I was looking at their recipes and stuff. I was like, yo, you can do this and actually live. Like, we don't need like meat for the protein. And that's when I began. So I'm like, yo, wait a minute. And I began to check into all of it, and I went cold turkey. I stopped even eating fish, chicken, all that stuff. I didn't eat it, no dairy or nothing. And I kid you not, just by doing that one thing alone, cutting out the meat and dairy, by the time I had gotten back to my next doctor's appointment, 2 weeks later, my blood sugar had labeled itself out. And I knew that because I was still, although I wasn't taking the medicine, I needed something to prove to me that what I'm doing is working. So even though I hated it, I kept pricking my finger, testing my blood. And it leveled, I say after the first week, that's when I began to see like a consistent, stable blood sugar. I'm like, yo, something is happening. Something is true about this, and also I noticed that next week I had no more headaches. Even while I was pregnant before, I was taking Motrin and stuff, and I knew that couldn't be good for the baby. But after that first week of going cold turkey from meat and dairy, I noticed my migraines had stopped. Those pains that I was feeling, like on my right side, I could still feel them, but they weren't as sharp as they used to be. And I was having a host of female issues going on that had cleared up within a week. I'm like, is this a fluke? And I was feeling so good. I'm just like, wait a minute, but something is definitely right about this. I was like, and I didn't take any more. I didn't go pick up the other prescription, and I stopped taking the current prescription that they had given to me about a month ago. And I was just like, yo, I don't need this medicine. I can't test my body except through the blood, the sugar, the blood tester for my, see how my sugar was. I didn't have all this other stuff, but I could tell something was happening. And so when I went back, she tested my blood and she saw that it was stable. She said, oh, very good. She said, I see you've been taking the medicine, or at least it's kicking in. I just looked at her, I said, no. And I said just like that. And she was like, I said, I haven't been taking the medicine. I said, I didn't even go pick up the second prescription you gave me. And she just looked like flabbergasted, like completely shocked, like, well, what's happening? How did your blood sugar? I said, you want me to tell you how my blood sugar stabled out? I said, I want cold turkey. I stopped eating meat and dairy. And my blood sugar leveled itself out. And not only that, the other issues that I haven't talked, I said, all of this has stopped. I haven't had a migraine in a week. And all I did, I stopped taking the medicine. I stopped taking the first prescription. I didn't go pick up that one. I stopped eating meat and dairy. And all this stuff stopped. I said, why didn't you tell me before you even prescribed me medicine? Why didn't you tell me, Miss Murphy, consider changing your diet? I said, you didn't even give me that option. You just said, take the medicine. I said, shouldn't that have been my choice? She said, well, Miss Murphy, I'm going to be honest with you. Most people don't follow those directions anyway. So we just give them the medicine because we know most people not going to follow the diet or follow, if we give them a choice, hey, change your diet. I'm not giving you medicine to help. Yeah, it'll help, but it's going to hurt something else. Just change your diet and all these things that even out. I'm like, that should have been my choice. You should not have made that choice for me. And she just looked. She said, you're right. She said, you know what? Keep doing what you're doing. And it's from that point, I'm like, I'm taking responsibility for my own life, for my own body. I'm going to quit letting people tell me what I should and shouldn't be doing. Or if I feel like something wrong, I'm going to stop not going to check into stuff. And I've been checking everything and everybody ever since then, right? Like I said, I could be a little bit passionate about this. All right. So, listen, I said all that because of what we just read in verse 20 about this whole carnivorous thing. We're in chapter 31, y'all. Page 352, down at verse 20. Listen. And it says, and this ye accomplished and added thereunto the temptation to mortals to become carnivorous, whereby the grades have fallen woefully, right? And not only do you fall in grades and you become dumber and dumber in spiritual things if you're consuming flesh, right? Meat from animals, but your body breaks down and you eventually find yourself at the other end of good health. And depending on what you've been doing, what you've been eating, how often and how well you take care of your body, the truth that you shouldn't be eating sentient beings and flesh will begin to manifest in your body in one way or another. Migraine, headaches, diabetes, high blood pressure, colon cancer, right? Because the colon is simply like your rectum, is simply the other end of your tongue. Can't nobody tell me that you get colon cancer from anything other than what you put in your mouth. It ain't passed down through family. The only way it's passed down through your family is because your family taught you how to eat as poorly as they did. That's what's passed down. Bad habits. All of these things manifest in your body because your lack of discipline and ignorance and not caring for what should be a blessing for us in our life, our bodies, right? And this ye accomplished and added thereunto the temptation to mortals to become carnivorous, whereby the grades have fallen woefully. And now ye find fault with me for exacting a certain number of slaves annually of a certain grade, complaining that your own kingdoms are becoming flooded with Jehovahs. Osiris said, hear me, O Lord my God, for I have labored for thee and thy kingdoms many 100 years. Nor are my words and passion, but well considered, wherein, therefore, if I err, I ask no excuse on account of hastiness. First, then, that our confederacy was founded to make a mighty kingdom, heavenly, having dominion over mortals on the whole earth, of which kingdom thou wert to be chief and greatest glory, and ourselves second, to all of which our songs to this day bear testimony. But as for songs or testimonies in the libraries of heaven, that our confederacy was founded chiefly to get rid of the deviant laws, I have not seen nor heard of one. Sudga said, what I have done is done. I was commanded to a division of the earth to subdue it unto your complaints, but neither hath offered a remedy. Ye twain are higher in rank and wisdom than I. When ye have spoken to the purpose, I will also speak. For my part, I am thankful there are no deviant laws to bind me. Deus said, the remedy lieth in overturning the cause of the falls and the grades. For sake of glorifying themselves, my gods have suffered places of learning and industry to fall to pieces, both in heaven and earth. There be such as give glory unto charity and unto rites and ceremonies. But I say unto you, my gods, industry and learning stand higher than charity or rites and ceremonies. Especially so standeth industry that yieldeth up profitable support. Osiris said, where, O Lord my God, lieth the difference between that which is written or spoken? In thy opening words thou hast even now reiterated the bondage of the deviant laws over the lords. And in the next breath thou sayest, I command you to reestablish the places of learning and industry. Sudga said, are not written laws less arbitrary than spoken ones? For we see them beforehand and are not therefore shocked by the sudden audacity. Deus said, in either case, is it not true that the highest in power and mightiest in the plans and arrangement of his kingdoms must either take jibes and insults from his inferiors, whom he hath lifted up and made what they are, or otherwise fall brokenhearted on the loss of their love and worship? For on all hands we behold, alas, beneficiaries are apt to turn like venomous serpents and strike, even though the blow would send themselves into destruction. Osiris said, that is most especially true, O Deus, where the highest kingdoms owe their glory and greatness to those that have been subsidiary and built them up. None are so slow to see their danger as they that are exposed to it. There be such who, holding high places, but if their slaves knew who they were and how deceived, would bind them in knots and cast them into hell. Sudga said, but in such case, is it not better, O my wise brothers, that the highest who have been raised up by the toil and industry of others, that labored to have them glorified, turn from their own glory and selfish ends, and divide up their ill-gotten kingdoms, and bestir their lazy carcasses by sending assistance to those that have them in their power? Deus said, most wisely spoken, both my gods. But how shall we teach apes and monkeys to know their masters? Dang. That might be in our title today. It's a little offensive because they're talking about humans, but it is what it is. Deus said, most wisely spoken, both my gods. But how shall we teach apes and monkeys to know their masters? They crook their tails and squeal, imagining themselves great monarchs, whereas were they cut off from their masters, they would come to grief most ignominiously, or be the foremost plunged into torments. Osiris said, thou wisest of gods, is not most strange, wonderful. Osiris said, thou wisest of gods, is it not most strange, wonderful, how better we can see others' shortness than our own? Nor are we much quicker to find a way to save them, which we oft could do were they not, Nor are we much quicker to find a way to save them, which we oft could do where they, I keep saying, where, listen, it's a word, not where. Okay, one more time. Nor are we much quicker to find a way to save them, which we oft could do were they not self-conceited fools, than to guard our arms, so that when they show the least sign to do us wrong, we inwardly swear within our souls to hurl them into hell. Sudga said, O my loves, it is a sad reflection when we survey mighty kingdoms at their quarrels, knowing that if either dare lift a hand to destroy, we ourselves hold the key whereby they can both strip of their highest subjects and their greatest glories, and left in the ruins of their own evil concocting. But the wise bide their time, and oft are fortified when others know not of it. Dead said, my most wise gods, ye have spoken great wisdom. I will weigh your words and be governed accordingly. For your most holy visit I am honored above all I deserve. Osiris said, words cannot express my reverence for thy spoken words, O Deus. Sudga said, I am bowed with sorrow to leave the place of so much wisdom, love, and power. Ain't that just like a bunch of idiots sitting around talking about how wise they are? This whole conversation is ridiculous. Verse 32. Deus said, my most wise gods, ye have spoken great wisdom. I will weigh your words and be governed accordingly. For your most holy visit, I am honored above all I deserve. Osiris said, words cannot express my reverence for thy spoken words, O Deus. Sudga said, I am bowed with sorrow to leave the place of so much wisdom, love, and power. And now Osiris and Sudga stepped backward 4 paces each, but separated from each other with their heads still bowed. By a signal, the vice gods re-entered and stood beside the gods, and then all, with heads bowed, raised their hands and saluted the sign, central sun. Deus answered them on the sign, music of the satellites. Slowly now, and with measured steps, the low, sweet music, backward, the gods and vice gods crossed the area and passed the ark, where the vice gods left them and returned within. But the gods were now met by the high council and high marshals, and conducted the entrance gate where they left them, and they were received, Osiris and Sudga, by their hosts, and reconducted to their ships with great pomp and honor, and they at once set sail for their own heavenly kingdoms. Now, in this whole proceeding, the gods were all surprised that Tan came not, nor by messenger or otherwise answered the summons, nor could one of them imagine the cause. That chapter seemed like it was super long. It was probably because I kept interrupting, but it was only 37 verses. Okay, where we at? An hour? I can't believe this. I talk too freaking much. We only read 1 chapter and we're literally at an hour. Oh, gosh. Okay, let's just read one more. This is. Okay, I ain't gonna say this is terrible. I probably needed to say that about the diet. Okay, let's read chapter 32 and then we're gonna pause. It's 17 verses. All right, I really do be trying to honor this hour time period because we really only supposed to be here like an hour so we can get the day started, right? Because I really can't be here during the morning a real long time because, you know, it's the start of the day. Got a family, business, all that stuff. Okay, chapter 32, page 353. Tayan, whose heavenly kingdom contained 3,000 million angels, being informed when Osiris and Sudga were gone to Horeb, Satan said to him, now is thy time, call thy council together, proclaim thyself God of heaven and earth, mighty in all regions, the central kingdom of the eternal heavens. Choose from amongst thy council the highest grades, and make them lords under thee, after which thou shalt renew the battles in Japheth on the earth. Tayan said, why on earth? Satan said, behold, Japheth must be subdued to one nation of people, and this shall be thy footstool and thy heavenly kingdom's headquarters. After which thy lords shall proceed to the lands of Parsi and Arabia, and inspire the inhabitants thereof to another central kingdom. And when mortals are thus subdued to limited numbers, thou shalt have but few to deal with in order to make thyself God of the whole earth. Tan said, thou art wiser than all gods. Behold, my way is clear. So on the day of Deus's meeting with Osiris and Sudga, even the same day, Tan severed the bonds betwixt his heavenly kingdom and all others, and he chose 12 of his highest grade in the holy council and made them lords of the earth. But he allotted no portion of the earth to anyone alone. He said, I will not give them kingdoms. This is the strongest way to keep everything in one's own hands. Tayan then, through his lords, whom he sent down to the earth, made Kan, mortal king of Japheth, with the title King of the world and sun and moon and stars. And the Lord's caused Kan to build an Oahspe, Oke''Spe. And the Lord's caused Kan to build an Oahspe, spirit house or oracle. That might be in our title today. That's fun to say, like Oahspe. Spirit house. Oahspe is a spirit house or oracle. Okay. And the Lord's caused Kan to build an Oahspe, spirit house or oracle, where he could receive the commandments of Tayan, the holiest, all highest ruler of heaven, as to what he should do in order to subdue the earth unto himself. Tayan said, And my gods, say ye to Kan, when the earth is subdued unto himself, Behold, I will also come down to dwell in the temples he buildeth for my lords. And when the king goeth forth and subdueth a place unto himself, he shall immediately build a worshipful temple and dedicate it to me and my lords, whose names ye shall give alike and like in all places. For I will not confuse mortals with the multiplicity of heavenly lords. And the king shall show unto the people that there is but one high ruler in heaven, whether he be called Hojas or Jas or Potin or Tayan, and that I am the person. But in no case shall the king suffer the worshippers of the Great Spirit to remain alive upon the earth. Tayan said, My lords, take with you each 1,000,000 angels, strong and cunning in war. 12,000,000 are sufficient. For ye shall not scatter them about, but keep close in the neighborhood of war and the king. And when a fire burneth, beginning from a spark and spreading outward till a city is consumed, so be ye concentrated and potent. This is the whole art of power. And whilst mortals sleep, your angels shall come upon them and give them dreams and visions of glorious success, making them see themselves in the heat of battle, rushing through the jaws of death unscathed, while their manly arms slay about them on every side, their enemies by the score and flowing blood. Remember, when you have dreams and you think of a certain that the Great Spirit, the creator of all, has given it to you, remember, even your dreams and visions must be considered well. You got to test them and make sure that it truly is from our Father, or if it's from another source. Like, because I see people up here, and not just on YouTube, but you can just kind of see it, because a lot of people think all their dreams come from the Father, and they be telling up here, a bunch of church people too, all kinds of stuff, thinking they be super spiritual, telling every dream they got. Now, I personally know that every dream I get is not from the Father. I've learned that very early. But some people, they think with all kinds of stuff. I'm like, girl, you was foolish. Or, dude, I can't believe you just said that. They just take it at face value that my dream comes from the Lord, when a lot of time it doesn't. This is the whole art of power. And while mortals sleep, your angels shall come upon them and give them dreams and visions of glorious success, make them see themselves in the heat of battle, rushing through the jaws of death unscathed, whilst their manly arms slay about them on every side, their enemies by the score and flowing blood. For when these mortals awake and remember their dreams, they will be well whetted up for the glorious work. But as to those that are to be conquered, let your angels go to them whilst they sleep, and give them dreams and visions of horrid deaths, make them see the heat of battle, and themselves overpower on every hand, and pierce with sword and spear. They fall, dying in great agony. And when such mortals wake up and remember their dreams, they are half conquered already. Tayan said, My lords, ye shall inspire the king to be merciful and gentle, And when his soldiers come to a place to subdue it, they shall send truce men before them, inquiring, Who say ye shall be the ruler? And if the people answered, We are conquans, slaves, they shall not be slain. Tan said, My lords, amongst mortals, what is righteousness? Now one Lord said, Rites and ceremonies. Another said, To worship thee, O Tan. Another said, To follow the doctrines of the ancients. Another said, To purify one's self. Another said, To do good with all one's might. Another said, To practice truth. Another said, To harm no man. Tan said, Not one of you knoweth righteousness. Behold how you stand. The doctrines of the ancients were their own, and they are as dead. To put on dead man's clothes, will that make the wearer like the dead was? Oh, shoot, that might be our title. I'm going to figure it out. To put on dead man's clothes, will they make the wearer like the dead was? Rites and ceremonies are what showeth. Rites and ceremonies are what showmen, like somebody in the circus or something, showmen. Rites and ceremonies are what showmen train their horses with to run or leap or lie down to please their masters. To purify oneself, what is that? A mortal man's body cannot be purified, for it is rotten at best. To do good with all one's might, who knoweth the meaning of that? To cut off a crushed foot to save a man's life, give him pain in the cutting, even whilst he is suffering. Then it is well that some men's heads be cut off for their own good, yea, even nations extirpated. Let him that doeth then do with all his might. See ye not that in this, that before one attempteth to do good, he is his own judge, judging by his own judgment? That was a question. See ye not that in this, that before one attempteth to do good, he is his own judge, judging by his own judgment? To practice truth, what is that? The Jehovians say, Jehovah is all truth, but Jehovah is nothing, scattered as the wind. Then truth is nothing. Who hath found a man but said, To see as I see is to see the truth. To see as thou seest is to see falsely? A man told lies knowingly and practiced them, and he was all truth to himself, for he was a liar. Therefore, he practiced truth. How ununderstandable is that? Listen to this. I'm going to read this again. Verse 15. To practice truth, what is that? The Jehovians say, Jehovah is all truth, but Jehovah is nothing, scattered as the wind. Then truth is nothing. Who hath found a man but said, To see as I see is to see the truth. To see as thou seest is to see falsely? A man told lies knowingly and practiced them, and he was all truth to himself, for he was a liar. Therefore, he practiced truth. Verse 16, to worship me is unrighteousness instead of righteousness. To worship Jas is unrighteousness. To worship nondescript Jehovah is unrighteousness. And to worship Po is unrighteousness also. Behold this matter. The large trees in the forest were smothering out the small ones. And the small ones said, We praise you, giant oaks, for the many blessings we have received. Be merciful unto us. The large trees laughed at them, and they died. Is this not Jehovah? Is this not the gods? For all mortals at best are but as unhatched eggs, and when they are dead, their souls are as hatched chickens for the gods to play with and to use in their own way. Tan said, Teach ye this to mortals, and tell them moreover to choose what God they will, and if it be me, then I will labor for them. But if it not be me, then I am against them. This then is righteousness. Reciprocity betwixt gods and mortals, reciprocity betwixt mortals and themselves, to war for opinion's sake, in order to develop in steadfastness, to help the helpless, to feed and clothe the stranger, and to worship the father and mother. This boy is all off. And that's the end of chapter 32, y'all. We're going to pause right here. Like, he already screwing them up with the words and stuff like, okay, that sound good. Do it. Like, he twisting them up into thinking. But clearly, we can see a lot of this still carries over to the scriptures as well, right? Because we see the same type of attitude with the God of the Old Testament, right? If you ain't for me, then you against me. And if you against me, you are my enemy too, right? So you either worship me or you can find a place in hell, right? And that is clearly not the way of the great spirit, the great Father, right? Okay. All right, y'all. That's it for today. Tabitha, which is Keon Cooper. She using her son account. Shalom, sis. Shalom. Francis, shalom. All right, y'all. That's it for today. My story within the first chapter used up all the time today, which is still me. I used up all the time telling my story. But anyway, that's it for today. We will not be here tomorrow because it's the last Sabbath of this cycle. So it seemed like we was just taking a break yesterday. It really does. It's when the Sabbath falls in the middle of the week, it's like you got 2 days of work, then you rest, and you got 2 more days of work, then you rest 2 days. And it's like the week is split up, and it don't throw me off. I'm grateful for the extra rest, but I find myself somewhere or another still working when I really should be resting. But it just seemed like we just took a break yesterday. So, but we won't be here tomorrow. We'll be back here Thursday. I'm at my page number 353. Please read ahead if you have the time, if you are inclined to do so. All right, y'all. So with that being said, it's Tuesday. Happy Tuesday, beautiful people. It is July the 26th, 2022, day 169 of year 4 of reading through the books of the law and the prophets. Another 4-year consecutive day count, day 1187. We read pages 351 to page 353 in the book of Wars Against Jehovah, which is found in Big Blue, the Oahspe. All right, y'all. So with that being said, you know, I'm going to share 2 videos that Oahspe College University mentioned like 3 days ago. And I just remembered that I never shared the videos. I got to go back to the video to get the name of the 2 he mentioned, and I'll share it, right? So after I share it in the community section, I also share it in the comment section for Facebook and for YouTube as well. But that's it for today, y'all. May you be blessed as you go about your day. If you have the opportunity to rest tomorrow, if you work for the man, if you're on Caesar's time, you may not be able to rest tomorrow, right? It is what it is. It really is. It is what it is, you know. But as we wake up and as we adjust our life, we'll be able to adjust some things to, you know, make sure we're in line and light with the Father, right? But even if you have to work tomorrow, may your day be peaceful, right? May it be non-eventful in a good way where it seemed like you were still at home with your feet up, kicked back, resting, right? Especially like if you work in a hotel, not a hotel, I mean, if you work there too, I meant to say hospital, right? Because my sister, she found out that, well, now, because she's able to make her schedule now, she's able to adjust it. But when we first started putting the Sabbath into practice, she, because their schedules are made out like a month in advance. And so on the days, if she couldn't find somebody to switch her shift with her, she would still have to show up to work, right? But what she found out, she was like, because her heart is in the right place. She's like, Father, if we're supposed to be resting, we ain't supposed to be at work. I didn't know. We're trying to put into place, but help me find somebody to switch. But if I can't, let it be a peaceful day. But it's always been on them days where she had to work in our early days of figuring out the Sabbath and putting it into place. They were always, even if she was supposed to be on the floor, they would move her by no request of her own other than by taking it directly to the Father. They would remove her off the floor and they would put her like on know this sounds horrible, but even at her hospital, they have like suicide watches, right? They would take her and put her in a room with somebody who was on suicide watch. Now, that was a blessing in more than one way. She got to rest, but she also found out why she was set here. And she also had a chance not to go in. Like, I heard you was on suicide watch, but she found out that people would normally begin to open up and talk to her. And she was actually able to pray for them. Not like, I'm just go like Christian. I mean, lay my hands on and pray for you right now in Jesus' name. She didn't do all that, right? Because we were learning things, and she would learn how, while they were talking, just to kind of send up quick prayers inwardly for them. And it would be peaceful for her. They ain't trying nothing crazy. I don't think anybody ever tried anything crazy on her watch when they put her on suicide watch. Not like some of the eventful stories that happen to other people when they had to watch people who've been placed on suicide watch, right? It's always been peace for her. From the time we learn to put into practice, there's a peace that follows us wherever we go. Even in the midst of all hecticness, there's a peace that just rests, you know. So, but may you have that same peace of, and I know this comes from the New Testament, but nevertheless it's true from what I've understand. May you have the peace from the great Spirit, our Creator, our Father, that surpasses all understanding, right? So may you have that forever, even more so on the Sabbath, right? Because there's like a double, I found out from practice and just testing stuff and paying attention. There's a certain type of rest that happens to you spiritually when you line up on the days of rest that the Creator has set apart for you to actually rest on. I can't even explain it. It's just like the body is, something happens where it's just like you get like a supercharge or something or everything. I don't know. I felt it twice. I felt it like I can remember specific times where it was very, very, very noticeable. The first time, I was still in church. And I think by default, I experienced it, but I was still looking for truth. I was like, oh, it's Sabbath? And the Sabbath is not Sunday? And so that time, as I was going through the transition, okay, Sabbath is not Sunday, it's Saturday, then it's Friday. So the Sabbaths kept switching while I was testing and looking at stuff, but I think I got it right one day. And then there was an overwhelming sense of peace. There's a complete relaxing and a quiet. It was like almost like this. I don't even know how to describe it for real. There was like a holy peace present. It just pervaded everything. And it was like, it felt like my body was like recharged. It's like, there's not even words for that feeling. And then it happened again. Me and my husband was together and we was just kicked back. And it was the same thing. It happened to us again. And maybe it's like I don't know, maybe if I was still in church, I would call it maybe like a fresh outpouring or something. I just really don't have words for it. But this happened, me and my husband, at this time we had 4 kids. But it never happened. It happens, but it never happened to both of us together where we could both feel it. We would just kick back. It was like, we ain't doing nothing. It's a Sabbath. We just going to sit here. We're going to watch movies. Like, we still young and not thinking. We just going to sit back. We ain't out running around. We ain't working. We just going to sit here, kick back on the couch, head and lap, watching movies, eating popcorn or whatever. And then it felt like somebody had poured something over us. And it was just, like I said, y'all, it's not even really words to describe it, but if you could pour out peace on somebody, that's how it felt. And I felt it, and my husband was the first one to say something about it, because a lot of times out of the time we've been together, he has supernatural things happen to him, but not as much as it happened to me. And I felt it, I could feel it. But he was the first one to say something. I was like, yo, you feel that too? He said, what is that? And we just like, it almost brought us to this like it's like I don't know, maybe like a worshipful state where it's like reverence, and it's just like, you just like lay there in it. I don't really know how to describe it other than it's just like, and the whole house was quiet. It was peaceful, and it was like I don't know. I really don't know how to explain it, y'all. But I don't know. Maybe he got both of us that time, because we was kind of having, it was still kind of early in our marriage. Although we had 4 kids at the time, we were still having issues that we was trying to come to grips on and work out amongst one another. But it seemed to help us marriage-wise. I just don't know how to explain it right now, y'all. I really don't. But I had it happen to me. I can say that wasn't the first time when it was, the first time I felt like that I was out to sea. I had just got married, and we were over in the, we had just gone through the Suez Canal, and this was one of the days I was, because I had to work every day. There was like no day off at sea. It's like you either on duty or you off duty. But it's one particular time I was laying in my rack in a berthing, and I was fully awake. And then I was just laying there and I was reading my Bible, because if I wasn't at work, I was in the berthing in my rack reading my Bible, right? And I was in there, and I just kind of closed it, and I just began to like hum a worship tune. And I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go ahead and go to sleep. It's been a long day. I said, but I am freezing. Like I literally said, I said, Father, I'm freezing. I said, and I can't seem to get warm. I kid you not, y'all. My feet, sometimes you know how you get cold, your feet get cold, but if you like warm your feet up, it'll warm up your whole body. When I say my feet were cold, and I was in my rack inside of a sleeping bag, when I say my feet were cold, they felt like ice bricks. I said, Father, I said, thank you. It's been a long day, but I'm gonna go to sleep. I literally said, I'm gonna go to sleep now, but I can't. I'm freezing. Like I had these conversations with the Creator. I was like, I'm freezing. My feet feel like ice blocks. And no sooner than I said my feet feel like ice blocks, it felt like somebody took a picture of something warm. I ain't gonna say water. It felt more like the consistency of oil, right? I felt it being poured over my feet, and it shocked me to where I sat up. Mind you, if you know what aircraft carriers or berthings look like, you know the berthings or the beds, they're like bunk beds, but with ship's crew, they're like 3 high, and I was in the middle. Right? When I felt that, I was in the middle, I had my curtain closed. When I felt that warm substance being poured over my foot, it shocked me, and I went to go sit up like, what is that? It was like a warm type water. It wasn't water, like I said. It felt like the consistency of like something oily. It was being poured over my feet, and it just warmed me up. And I'm like, what is happening? Right? And so because I couldn't sit up this way, I turned sideways, and I'm feeling my feet while still feeling this oil being that I couldn't see it, but I could feel it. You know, it was freaking. It wasn't freaking me out, but I'm like, what in the world is happening? So I moved the cover, my sleeping bag. I zipped it from down there. I'm like, what is? And I'm feeling the bag. I'm like, what is that? What is that? And I'm feeling my feet. I'm like, but it feels nice. I said, Father, is that you? Thank you. And so I'm laying there, still kind of bent over, looking at my feet while I can still feel this oil-like substance being poured over my feet. I'm like, well, okay. I'm like, well, thank you. I'm just going to go ahead and go to sleep. And I'm looking to see if anybody walking past over there, because I was going to try and figure out something to ask them just to make sure I wasn't tripping, but nobody walked past. Either they was already asleep, but I was just trying to figure it out. But I call those supernatural things. Stuff like that been happening to me all my life. I be trying to figure it out. And it's like, this girl ain't got it. She got to be one of the dumbest humans we trying to work with. But it be shocking me a lot of times. And sometimes you can't explain that to some people, especially if they haven't had something crazy or supernatural happen to them. It just look like to them, at least I feel like I'm going to look like to them that I'm complete nut. So a lot of time, the only place to share those type of things is within my family, that the same type of craziness be happening to, or what I deem to be craziness, right? But that is not even it. There is all these instances. If I keep on talking, I'll be talking for the rest of the day, and we gotta go. But I just wanted to share that. But it's a lot of stuff. But anyway, may you have a peace that surpasses all understanding, right? All understanding in your days. Enjoy your day off from me tomorrow, right? I'll probably see you, because if somebody go live like Selah Shalom or what's his name? Cal P. If one of them go live, y'all probably see me pop in, right? But thank y'all, brethren, for all that y'all do. All right, y'all. I love y'all. I'll see y'all back here tomorrow. No, not tomorrow. Thursday, 7:15 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Peace. Shebrew. I'm sorry. I just saw your name. All praises to the Creator. All right, y'all. That's it. I see y'all back here Thursday. Love y'all too. Yeah, Cosmine Cal. That's his name. He go by two names. At least I think so. Cosmine Cal, Cal P. Yeah, it's the same person. Yeah. Anyway, I love their videos. They clearly know way more than me. I'm the newcomer to the party. And I'm just getting through reading it the first time. But anyway, I love it. Mom, shalom, shalom, peace. Auntie, Belinda Brown. All right, y'all. That's it. I'm out of here. Gotta go. Bye.